Your vehicle was just deemed a total loss from a recent accident, and now you're wondering what to do. Good morning, everybody. It is Jobeth Bowers, your accident and injury guy, right here in my Elkton office. We are just a couple of days away from 2025. I don't know where the year went. It's been a crazy busy year for everybody. But yeah, today we're talking about what happens when your vehicle is a total loss. And our featured business this week is Purnell Body Shop. This is a place that you take your vehicle when it's not a total loss. If you want those repairs done right and you want everything taken care of, also, they will guarantee their work, which is fantastic. Because a lot of times you're taking a look at it, you got everything else going on from one of these accident cases. Maybe you're also dealing with injuries and us at the same time. And know that once you take that vehicle off the lot with some body shops, you're done once you sign that paperwork. If something springs up that is from the repair work that they did, they're going to make right by it. So if you've got a vehicle that's in an accident, take it to Purnell Body Shop. They will take good care of you. So this week we're going to talk about what happens when your vehicle is deemed to be a total loss. Now, years ago, a guy that kind of looks like me, minus about 40 pounds and a lot more hair up top here, did a 3-video series that's on YouTube. In fact, the first of those videos is linked below. So you can go check those out because they're going to have a different twist on the information. They were for a column that I was doing in the Cecil Guardian at the time called Ask Your Cecil Lawyer. Now we're doing this on a weekly basis, so it kind of overtakes that whole thing. So good morning to those of you who are tuning in live. Great to see you here. Happy almost new year. So we're going to talk about what to happen when your vehicle is a total loss after an accident. A lot of times I get these calls from folks that are just looking for help with that element of it. Maybe there weren't any injuries. Now, it's really hard to believe and super rare that somebody has a total loss to their vehicle and hasn't suffered any apparent injuries, but it happens. Each and every one of these situations presents completely differently. I've had 2 people in the exact same accident have completely different injury and treatment projections because of the way that impacted their bodies differently. It's normal, but we're talking about the total loss today. First and foremost, when you have a total loss, you are often given 2 options. Number 1, here's what we think the vehicle's worth, and they're pulling all sorts of data from different sales and everything in the region. Here's your money, sign over the title. That's option number 1. Option number 2 is, hey, we're going to give you a little bit less, and that there's not a hard and fast rule to that number of how much the discount is. It's usually 10 to 20%, but it really varies a lot of times based on the type of damage to the vehicle, the insurance company's thoughts on, hey, can we sell this for parts at an auction or whatever they end up doing with it. Some vehicles have a little bit more value than others. But they have an option for you to retain the salvage. You keep the physical vehicle and they pay you a little less money. Now, this is a decision that for most people, I would say more than half of my clients, it's a no-brainer. Take the money and hopefully that money is more than you owe on the vehicle, or you have gap insurance. Gap insurance is something that you need to buy at the time that you purchase the vehicle. Ultimately, we all know that the vast majority of vehicles, the moment you take them off the lot, their value declines. So much so that if you didn't put a ton of money down on your vehicle, the moment you drive it off the lot, if you were to get taken out on the street outside of the dealership mere seconds after purchasing the vehicle, you're going to owe more money on that vehicle than anybody's going to pay you for it. It's a little ridiculous, but it is. It's the market. It's the way that it works. So gap insurance, let's say you purchased a vehicle that's worth $20,000 the moment you take it off the lot, but you owe $25,000 on it. If you just have that note and no gap insurance, and the insurance company pays out the 20 grand, it's going straight to the loan company, and the loan company is going to say, hey, buddy, excuse me, you owe me 5 grand. If you have gap insurance, the gap insurance company, they have you collect a lot of paperwork and send it to them and everything, and then they pay the extra 5 grand and cover that gap. But what I want to talk about today, because I get a lot of questions about, hey, should I get the vehicle repaired and keep driving it? A lot of times, here's the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is the vehicle value, that actual cash value, if you were to go try to find the same or similar, if the damage is 70% of that or more, they're going to deem it a total loss. So let's say you have an old vehicle. Like, for example, I have a vehicle that is not an everyday driver. It's a 1998 Jeep Wrangler. I would imagine the cash value on that vehicle right now is worth 2 or 3 of these pence. So somebody dinging the bumper of that 1998 Jeep is probably going to cause it to hit that 70% mark and be a total loss. But there may not be much wrong with the vehicle. So if this happens to me and I'm saying, hey, I want to retain my vehicle, what happens next? Well, a lot of this depends on the overall situation of that vehicle. Number one, does it have a loan? If you've got a loan on that vehicle, that bank is most likely not going to allow you to retain the salvage. They're going to want their money, because the moment that you retain the salvage, even if you get it repaired, get it safety inspected, and get the new title with the salvage information there, the collateral, what the bank has to come after if you stop paying the loan, is almost worthless. It's virtually worthless. So they're not going to do it. And it's not out of choice. This is if you were to actually read line by line your contract for that loan, there's going to be a section or a provision in there that if that vehicle's total loss, they can call the note. They can make you pay the whole thing off. So if you have a loan on it and you don't have the money to just pay off that loan all at once, you probably don't have this choice. But let's talk about my 1998 Jeep Wrangler as the example, because I don't have a loan on it, as you can imagine. Even if I had bought it brand new, which I did not, and paid almost nothing in today's dollars for it at retail, because I think those vehicles in 1998 were selling for like 12 or 15 grand. So comparatively, you'd pay 60 grand or so for one of those today, a brand new one. I would have no loan on it. Even at this point in time, I'd have paid that loan off. So they offer me $1,000. I know that vehicle's worth more to me than the $1,000. And I'm just making that $1,000 number up. It might be a little higher. It might be a little lower. I'm going to keep that salvage. What happens next? Number one, you have to go get it safety inspected. And this is through the Maryland State Police, usually not your normal type of inspection. It's different because you are going to the MVA next and saying, I need a salvage title. So they're going to give you a new title for that vehicle. It's going to have an endorsement on there letting everybody in the world know that this vehicle was salvaged. This was a vehicle that was deemed a total loss. And normally the reason that they're deeming these vehicles a total loss is safety. They don't want a vehicle that's been that damaged out on the road, because then it's more susceptible to causing another accident. And of course, that means some insurance company is going to have to pay a claim, and it might be them. The other thing that's going to happen is, again, we already talked about the lien holder, and there's not going to be a lien holder most likely. I don't deal with a lot of this, but I've never seen a scenario in which somebody has a salvage title with a loan on it, because nobody wants to do that, because the vehicle is virtually worthless as far as if it were to be totaled again, or somebody need to repo that vehicle because you stopped paying on the loan. That they're not going to get too far with it. They're going to take that vehicle, and it's not going to be worth what they've loaned you on it. It might have been when you purchased it or close to it, but not at that point in time. The other thing are insurance implications. A lot of insurance companies will not want to insure that vehicle at all. I have not run into an insurance company that will give collision coverage on a salvage title. And it all circles back to that element of once it's a salvage title, it's really worthless as far as a dollar amount value. Like you should not, you will not at a reputable used car dealer see a vehicle on the lot for sale that has a salvage title. I don't know that it's absolutely illegal for them to do that, but it's certainly a little shady, certainly seems unethical. And again, most insurance companies are not going to want to insure that vehicle at all, and certainly not give it collision coverage, which means you cause an accident in that vehicle. Now they're going to pay you for the vehicle as well, even though you were at fault, minus your deductible. That's not happening in a scenario like that. So these are a lot of important factors. Now, I broke down into 3 different elements what to do if you're retaining the salvage, if you're not retaining the salvage. I certainly, especially here in Cecil County, have some clients that their vehicle's a total. They retain the salvage because they know that they are going to break it down, deconstruct the parts that aren't destroyed, and they have the know-how, the connections, the desire, and the ability to resell for parts. Those folks are likely going to make more money in that scenario. But again, you can't really do it if it's if you've got a loan on the vehicle, all that money is going to go to the lien holder unless you somehow owe less than what they're paying you, which is super rare. So that's today's information, talking about total loss vehicles. A lot of people, when their vehicle is damaged, when their vehicle is a total loss, they feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. And most of the time you are, because the vehicle values drop so drastically. And obviously this varies from car maker to car maker. Some vehicles hold their value much better than others. And that is certainly a factor in the evaluation of what they're going to pay you because of the resale value, which is where they're pulling these numbers from in the first place. The only way in which people feel anywhere remotely made whole is if they are blurring the lines between an injury claim with an ultimate settlement that's going to entail pain and suffering. If they blur that line and say, hey, this is somehow connected to the fact that my vehicle was totaled and I didn't get the money that I wanted out of it, those two things have nothing to do with each other. If you want to condition your mind to say, hey, I'm going to make my money back in the injury settlement, sure, that is a way to look at it. But the injury settlement is not part of the evaluation of the damage to a total loss vehicle or the value of that total loss vehicle. So if your vehicle is a total loss and you need clarification on this, you know where to reach me. Phone number's right down there, 885-6200. More importantly, you probably had injuries as a result of your total loss vehicle. We'd love to talk about those. That's where we can help you out the most, navigating that system, making sure your medical bills get paid for, getting you paid for pain and suffering, which if you want to attach that to also losing the vehicle, that perhaps is where you end up feeling like you're made whole. That's kind of where a lot of people want to justify the math. It's not. I try to steer clear of that. The injury settlement is for the injuries alone. So that's all I got for this week. See you guys next week. Have a safe and happy new year. Remember, the courts are closed on New Year's. So if you end up doing something stupid, don't drink and drive. Use a cab, use an Uber, use something, a designated driver, because the courts are going to be closed. You're going to sit there a little bit longer than you'd like to until, I believe, Thursday they'll open back up for you. So plus you just don't want to cause that risk and that damage to somebody out there. So be safe out there. Don't be sorry. If you are injured in an accident, give our office a call. We'll be back next week with another great episode with more information for you. This is Jobeth Bowers, your accident and injury guy right here in Elkton. Be well, everybody. Be safe.